guys, it is Cave Theories here, and guys, a few days ago we finally got the announcement of who is going to play the 14th Doctor from Doctor Who, and it is going to be Ncuti Gatwa, which is just so exciting. So it got me thinking, what shall I do for the tier list this week? And I thought there's no better opportunity than to rate all of the current Doctors that we've had. Now, there have been many different Doctors throughout Doctor Who, ones that are official, ones that just have some weird cameos in, and some kind of like extras like the curator in the 50th. But today I'm going to be ranking all of the mainline Doctors. I am including the War Doctor and I am including the Fugitive Doctor, as I class them as mainline Doctors, but any other weird cameo that have technically played the Doctor but aren't technically the Doctor, I'm not including in this tier list. So let's begin ranking these Doctors. But before we go any further, please make sure that you've clicked the red subscribe button down below and have your notifications turned on so that you get notified every time we make any brand new tier lists. So here I am, I've got the Doctors all listed in number order, and let's just start with the first Doctor. I have done a Doctor Who tier list before on the channel. I did one for the New Who Companions. If you want to check that out, there'll be a link somewhere in the description down below, or you can go and click the card somewhere up there, because that video is really cool. So let's start with the first Doctor, the one that started it all in An Unearthly Child, and I really do like him. Like, he had to be good. He had to start off the first Doctor, and I think what really gets me big appreciation for the first Doctor is the film about the making of Doctor Who, An Adventure in Space and Time, released for the 50th anniversary. Seeing how William Hartnell struggled mentally during the time of portraying the Doctor was kind of like really hard and shocking to see, yet he still plays this part perfectly. He is a really cool Doctor. He feels like kind of like if you were to imagine what the Doctor is like, lots of us would think of the first Doctor. He's kind of like this grandfathery type figure who I think basically has the morals that the Doctor should. I also really liked when he returned, played by David Bradley, in Twice Upon a Time to fit with the 12th Doctor. I thought them two matching off with each other was really cool. His sexist quotes in that were a bit off, but apart from that, I think he is a really cool Doctor, and you know, he introduces to the show. He's really good. For that reason, I think he's going to go in B tier. Next we have the second Doctor. The second Doctor was also pretty big as well. Of course, this is the first time where we had a regeneration, and we finally got to see what this show could become with the idea of regeneration. And the second Doctor is definitely a different vibe from the first Doctor, but he has some really cool adventures. The ones with the Daleks, the ones with the Cybermen, they are really cool. He's also the first Doctor to use the sonic screwdriver, which I just think is pretty decent. And he's the last one in black and white. Is he A tier? I don't think he's A tier. I think he's probably B tier. I think he's probably behind William Hartnell, but Patrick Troughton, I really do like him. Next we have the third Doctor. Now this, out of all of the classic Who Doctors, is probably my favourite. I absolutely love Jon Pertwee as the third Doctor. I just think it is so creative to have a Doctor who, for most of his tenure, is just on Earth. I love the idea of him just traveling around in his yellow car. I mean, obviously the TARDIS is really cool, but him and Joe Grant versing monsters like the Sea Devils is just so cool. I love how this Doctor is invested in Una as well, and I think Una is probably one of the best inventions for Doctor Who. I absolutely love this Doctor. And my favourite companion of all time, Sarah Jane Smith, was introduced in this Doctor's tenure with the Time Warrior. I think when he dies, I don't think Planet of the Spiders is necessarily like the best episode ever, but you know, it's an intriguing ending for the Doctor, and I think the last thing that he says to Sarah Jane before he goes is just so emotional, gets me every time. He's one of my favourite Doctors. For that reason, he's going to go in A tier. Next we have the fourth Doctor, played by Tom Baker, who of course is probably classed as the most popular Doctor, in line with David Tennant. He's definitely the most popular classic Doctor. Some would say he's the best Doctor of all time. Do I agree with that? No, I don't. But I do still really like him. I think he's got a cool vibe. Like, I love Do You Want a Jelly Baby? Like, just so iconic. His scarf is iconic. To be honest, when people imagine the Doctor, they probably think of this guy because he is just so iconic. I think his companions are really cool. His adventures and stories were pretty cool. And his tenure, being a very long tenure, was really cool. I liked a lot of his stories. But I don't think he's as good as Jon Pertwee. I'm going to say probably top B tier. Next, we have the 5th Doctor, played by Peter Davidson. I did really like this Doctor. I thought his companions were really interesting. I really like Tegan, for example. I think the idea of just having this nice young Doctor is the first time the classic era kind of did this, and they didn't really go back to it until the modern era. And he's a nice vibe. I like him. And I think he's just a solid Doctor. So for that reason, he's going to go in the A tier. I like a lot of his episodes, but he's definitely not my favourite Doctor. Next, we have the 6th Doctor. I haven't seen much of the 6th Doctor's episodes, and there's a big reason for that. Like, first impressions, they're really key, and he did not have good first impressions. I just think, like, when he's in his first episode, when he starts strangling his companion, it's just a bit strange. I didn't really get Colin Baker's vibe for the Doctor, and to be fair, he owns the fact that he is the 6th Doctor, but it just wasn't for me at all. So I think we're going to go for D tier. I know it's very stereotypical saying, oh, the 6th Doctor's rubbish, but it's true. Next, we have the 7th Doctor. I really like him, but I especially love Ace. I think Ace just makes this Doctor amazing. There is some great episodes here, like Remembrance of the Daleks. That is incredible. I do just think, like, the 7th Doctor is a pretty cool Doctor, but I'd say he's probably mid-tier as well. I'm going to say probably high B tier. Next, we have the 8th Doctor. The movie, not that great. The return in the 9th of the Doctor, the, like, short, was absolutely brilliant. I absolutely loved that. The sad thing is I don't really listen to the audiobooks that much, and I've never really gotten into Big Finish, so I'm sure people who do listen to the 8th Doctor's audiobooks probably have a brilliant time with this Doctor. For me, personally, I've only ever seen him in the movie and the short, and they were fine. They just weren't, like, incredible. But I bet, yeah, if he had more time, he would have been, like, up here, because he has the potential to be so amazing, and I'm sure he does in the audiobooks. But just on the show, I'd say he's probably C tier. Next, we have the War Doctor, a very interesting Doctor as kind of like the Time War Doctor. And I think as an invention, as an idea, especially since Christopher Eccleston was not going to return for the 50th, and played by John Hurt, and that reveal at the end of Series 7, it was just so cool. For that reason, I think he's going to go late B tier. Like, he is a really cool Doctor, but he's only in for one episode. But the episode that he is in, he is really cool. And the idea of having the War Doctor is a really cool idea. And the way at the end when he realizes that actually he did kind of save Gallifrey and he didn't destroy it, but he's going to forget it, is really heartbreaking. However, I do just think that he is just like, you know, a one episode Doctor. He's a great Doctor, but he's never going to be up there, is he? Because he just didn't have enough time to go on. But John Hurt plays him really well, and I love the vibe. I think the best moment for this Doctor is probably the conversation that he has with Clara in the 50th. That is so emotional and so well timed. It's just brilliant. Next, we have Christopher Eccleston, S tier, no doubt about that. It's Christopher Eccleston. It's the Ninth Doctor. Fantastic. That's all I need to say. Next, we have David Tennant. Now, obviously, so many people would just say it is so stereotypical to just put him in S tier. However, you know, I'm going to have to. Like, he is the best Doctor. Like, you can try and argue with me and say I'm a fake fan because I love David Tennant, but ask yourself this. Who had all of the best episodes? Who was in Series 4? Who had Donna Noble and Sarah Jane Smith as their companion? It is this Doctor. Like, people who say you're so basic if you like the 10th Doctor, I just don't understand that, because he is, well, for me at least, the best Doctor, because I think his stories are the most creative. He is a brilliant actor played by David Tennant, and I just think, like, his vibe is brilliant. I love him. I did grow up, so there is a bit of nostalgia with David Tennant for me, but I absolutely love him. So for that reason, he's going to go in S tier. I just love him. He is my favourite Doctor. I think Christopher Eccleston would be higher than him if he'd had more episodes, but because David Tennant had the most episodes, had the Bad Wolf ending with Dr. Donna, all of his finales were just incredible. Doomsday is amazing. He had the most epic stories, and the Journey's End is just incredible. And do you know what? I know some people say it's really cringy. For me, I love his ending when he goes back and says goodbye to all his companions. I know it's like very self-indulgent, it's very cringy, but I just love that vibe. That is what I love. I love that type of fan service, and this Doctor gave me the hype for Doctor Who. So for that reason, he's an S tier. Next we have Matt Smith. I really love Matt Smith as well. I think he's definitely grown on me because originally I'd probably put him at the end of A tier, but he's better than that. He's S tier. I think what makes Matt Smith so great is the journey that the Doctor goes on throughout Series 5, Series 6 and Series 7, and the journey not only through the Doctor but with his companions. And I also think Matt Smith, because of Stephen Moffat's writing, has some of the best and most complicated and like interconnected storylines you can think of. The Impossible Astronaut storyline, yes, it might have not been like the best series ever, but you've got to admit the idea for it is really cool, and the name of the Doctor and all that storyline and just the prophecies and all that I really enjoy, and I know some people don't like it, but for me, I love it, and I think Matt Smith plays the Doctor brilliantly. He's just such a playful, goofy type of Doctor, and that's my vibe. Next we have the 12th Doctor. Now this was an interesting one because in the modern era so far, we've only really had relatively young actors play the Doctor, and I know lots of people's turn-off was obviously when David Tennant left, but also when they decided to hire Peter Capaldi for the Doctor because he was back to the more old traditional Doctors. And I still love his vibe. I don't think he's necessarily S tier because it's not really the Doctor's fault that some of his episodes just are not that good compared to these three. However, I do think he's top A tier. He is a really interesting Doctor, and I think the questions that he has on morality, is he a good man, the themes that the Doctor goes through, the kind of like midlife crisis that he has in Series 9 and then resolves in Series 10, I think is really cool. The only issue is some of the decisions with this Doctor and his companions were a bit off. I absolutely love Heaven Sent. Hellbent wasn't amazing. Clara dying was really emotional, but then coming back was a bit weird. Like, some of his storylines were just a bit messed up, but as a Doctor, he was amazing. So he's gonna go A tier. Next we have Jodie Whitaker, probably the hardest one to place because she's a good Doctor. Jodie Whitaker is a great actor, but it's just the writing. Chris Chibnall has let her down. So if it was based on the writing, she'd probably be in C tier. However, her as the Doctor, I do like her vibe. It's a bit cringy and a bit like childlike at times, but I like that vibe sometimes. But it's just the writing, it brings her down. So I think I'm going to go top B tier. Like, I do really like Jodie, but unfortunately the writing has just not been very nice to her. There are some great episodes with her in though. I think Eve of the Daleks, for example, as a recent episode, was really cool. I think what we'll have to see is we'll have to see how the regeneration goes, but you know, she's a decent Doctor. It's just a shame Chris Chibnall has just let her down so much. And finally we have the Fugitive Doctor. Now, this is really going to depend about what happens with the Timeless Child. Because either this Doctor is going to go here, or they're going to go there. Right now, I'd say they're at the end of A tier. Like, I love this Doctor's vibe. You've got to admit, the empowerment you could see on Jo Martin's face when it was revealed to her that she was the Doctor, and she goes to Jodie Whitaker and says, "Hello, I'm the Doctor," and Fugitive of the Judoon. It is just an amazing episode. It is probably Jodie Whittaker's best episode there was, and I just really hope that she would have been the 14th Doctor. I do think Ncuti Gatwa is going to be absolutely amazing as the 14th Doctor. However, my hope was that Jo Martin could have been the 14th Doctor, because it's such a shame that we're not even getting a spin-off show with her, and I just really would have hoped that we would have got more time with this Doctor, because her vibe is incredible. I absolutely love it from the get-go, and I just really wish we could have seen more. However, if she turns out to be a pre-Hartnell Doctor and part of the weird Timeless Child complex and all that sort of stuff, she's going to go down on my list just because I really don't like the idea. What I would have loved for her to be is just be the 14th Doctor and I'd forgotten everything else, because if she is before Hartnell, just so many continuity things just don't work. But apart from that, her vibe, the episodes that she's in have all been brilliant. Apart from maybe the Timeless Children. But she is really cool, and I can't wait to see where she goes in Jodie's regeneration episode. But anyway, guys, that's my tier list for all of the Doctors from Doctor Who. And let's see where Ncuti Gatwa ends up in this tier list as well as the 14th Doctor in 2023 when that finally comes out. But guys, do you agree with me or not? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments and where you would place the Doctors in your tier list. And as always, we've been here at Gate of Theories. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.